Hey friends, this is Gavin Hardkiss from Hardkiss Music in San Francisco, and you're listening to the Liverpool Connection podcast.
Fowler, whose goals were heaven, hallowed be thy name. When you did come, many games were won, and our ground felt like heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive away trespasses, as we forgive those who play against us. For Anfield is our kingdom, our power and our glory, for ever and ever. Our Robbie.
I mean, that is genuinely incredible, isn't it?
We're here today on Anfield Road for the unveiling of the new Robbie Fowler mural. As you can see, it's behind me and it's pretty spectacular. It was created by Mural Walls, so we spoke to some of the artists behind it and to Robbie Fowler himself.
You know what, I don't really know what to say. I walked over and I genuinely was touched. I mean, it's not only is it brilliant, but I think already it's going to be like an iconic mural, and I can't thank Mark and everyone at Mural Walls for doing it, and a real humbling experience. And you know, I did say before, you know, I lost my dad a while ago now, and I wished he was here to see this, because this is it genuinely is special. It really is.
And obviously, people who score goals are always, we used to call them the glory boys, but he was always in the right place, right time. The mentality of him in that way made him one of the best centre forwards certainly we've ever had.
I've not achieved it all on my own. I've had plenty of help along the way, but this is like a real. It's great for me, but I think it's a real thank you for everyone who's sort of aided my career.
How long would one of these typically take to make?
There's no set rule on how long they take. It depends on lots of different moving parts and factors, but this one, we started it late last night, so we've projected up the outlines of it, and then essentially what we're going to be doing for the next couple of days is colouring it in, getting the detail in there.
To actually, be a part of Liverpool's history now. The murals are going down as part of the history. It's a modern day statue, so it's an honour to be a part of it, and to get to celebrate with the Liverpool fans when it's something like the Henderson mural, when we painted that. We literally, as he lifted that cup, within an hour and a half, I was up the wall painting him already. It means so much to the fans. It's and this day and age, everybody needs a reason to smile, right? So, if people are going to walk past here, take a look at this and get a smile on their face, then we don't know what that's done for them on that day, do we?
And the mural plays on your nickname of God, with it being church stained glass windows. How strange has it been to live with that nickname?
It's not strange, because I don't mean that in an egotistical way. I just mean that because I take it at face value. It's a nickname. I don't claim to be some sort of deity. I don't go around calling myself it. And I'm grateful for having a nickname, because when I think of the brilliant players that Liverpool have had over the years, and the outstanding players about, then I'm the lad who gets that nickname, and I think it's probably genuinely the best football nickname in football.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Liverpool Connection podcast. I'm your host Daz. This is my story episode where I bring someone on to tell their Liverpool story. I've got a great guest. He looks like he's in a tunnel, but he's not actually. I don't think he's been put in a tunnel, but he's a creative writer. He's an award-winning writer and poet. It's Mr. Sean Cullen. Welcome to the pod.
Hi mate, thanks so much for having me. Yeah, sorry, apologies for being in a tunnel. It's a bit of a mad design, wallpaper in the background. So this is the new Anfield tunnel for Arne slot next season. So that's what we'll go. He's going to bring the players down that way. So
he's going to bring the players that are leaving who are going to have to paint it.
Definitely.
At least it's not your missus that's put you down a tunnel and said you're in the doghouse for a few
I'm in
weeks.
the doghouse down the back. It's right down the other end there.
Well, mate, welcome to the pod. We've been going back and forth, chatting and stuff, and it's great to finally have you on. We'll get into your writing and poems because Sean wrote the poems for our Klopp and our Fowler, which I'm sure many of you have seen. They're accompanied by a video. George Sefton voiced the Our Klopp on. It was the end of season one that had the murals that did it. So we'll talk to Sean about that in a bit. The first and foremost is he's a Liverpool supporter, which is the best in the world, supporting the best team, best club, best city. Sean, so let's go back years and years. When you're a kid.
Yeah.
Your first time, like, was your mum and dad like Liverpool supporters, or was it just
yeah. So as you know, I grew up in the city, right in the heart of it, and yeah, obviously, my family was half. It was half and half. So it was like half red, half blue, and I was the red side. So it was we had all the other side of the family, which had all lived in Everton Valley. So they were all the blues, and they were all like, yeah, all that side of them. And then there was our side, and we were the reds. So I was a slow starter, to be honest, because my dad was massively into it. And obviously, I was brought up by my grandparents. So my dad was my granddad, but he brought me up. And he knew he was in that genre from back in the 60s or 70s and all that. He lived right through all that. And then I was in like the tail end of it with like going into the 80s, being brought up. So he kind of tried to get me into it. And I was a slow starter, trying to get into it. And my uncle took me to the first game, which was at Anfield, and it was Charlton Athletic in 1989. And he took me along that day when it was the old Kop. So he took me, and my uncle brought me along that day. He had a little stool for me, so I stood right at the back of the Kop. I was tiny. I'm still small now. I'm on stilts here now as I'm talking to you. And he had me on a little stool at the back of the Kop. And I'll never forget that day, just watching. It was amazing. Just the first time I ever remember coming into the stadium, going into the Kop, and then walking out. And I was just taken back by the size of it and the scale of Anfield, even back then for a little kid, And I think that was the first little spark in my mind where I went, "Wow, this is special." And then obviously the Kop started to build up. It was the old Kop where it built up, and then the energy built and built and built. And just before kickoff, it was like, wow, this is amazing. Everyone's singing. I was quite scared, I'll be honest, a little bit as well, because it was like the atmosphere was just so good. And then, Barnes scored and we won 1-0. And I went home. And then it stuck in my head a little bit, but it wasn't until it was probably 12 or 13 where we used to start, like a couple of my mates started going to match. That was in the days where the old Kop where you queue up, to get in. And you didn't know if you were going to get in or not. So you'd have that whole atmosphere of you getting there about 3 days before, staying overnight just to try and get in. So we'd all queue up outside. We were all like, your heart's racing. You're like, whoa, are we going to get in? You're all shuffling along. And then we did get in. And then, that was the sort of start of it, really, as I was a teenager. Just getting that thing of, it's special, when you can feel it all around the city and the atmosphere building up pre-kickoff and then during the matches, and then it just really got into me then, as it did as a fan, and that was it then. And then I started to apply for a season ticket, and a massive waiting list at the time. And then the new Kop was getting built, so thankfully a season ticket came up, so I got me season ticket. So the new Kop happened, and then that was when it really kicked off. And I remember the first game we were playing Wimbledon, and the roof wasn't even on the Kop. And it was absolutely hammering it down. But the atmosphere, everyone was stood up and just singing. So that was my main introduction to being a Red, really. And even now, it's bringing it all back. Even just talking about it, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think when you're a teenager, you just have, when you go the first time with your mates, you just have freedom. You're saying bye to your parents or your grandparents, and they're kind of looking at you like, safe, be safe. Like, you walk around the corner and you're just like, yes,
come on.
And then you're walking up to Anfield. I mean, I still get goosebumps.
Yeah.
still to this day, and especially when you walk up the steps.
Yeah.
I do miss like queuing as well, because you know you'd meet all your mates, but then you get to hear like the latest gossip, like from the front. If you're in the back, the front would start with like, oh, Billy did this. By the time it got to you, the name had changed.
Yeah,
The whole like, gossip would change, and you're just like, oh, really? So you pass it on, and it was just great. But yeah, I mean that's the main thing, is just like you were hoping you'd get in.
Yeah.
So that's why you queue like really early, because sometimes, I mean, like for me, I'm a little bit older than you. It was where you'd queue up, and if you did it, an hour before the game, you're lucky to get in.
Yeah.
And I miss paying on the turnstiles as well.
Yeah. It's special, wasn't it? I think it was that feeling of, as you said, the anticipation on, now you can get a ticket and you go down, you go, and it's formulaic, whereas there was something really special about not knowing if you were going to get in. So it was like going to something thinking, wow, I've actually made it. So to actually get in the ground was special, not just go in the game was a guaranteed thing. People got turned away, because it was full, and I think it's that thing, that whole of like, that was the beauty of the game at that time. It was the anticipation, and your nerves would be gone. Am I going to get in? It's exciting. And then you're getting like, yes, you used to celebrate getting in, and I think even that was like enough to then get the atmosphere building up, before the match. And if anything, they should bring a bit of that back in, that sort of like anticipation, or are you going to get in or not, and that fuels the atmosphere. And when you come in, it's special, as you said.
Well, it's sad though, because I think today, even with the with the phone thing, you're still worried that you might not get in, because a lot of these tickets obviously are scammers, which it's awful. I remember like back in the day, so they're probably still some of the same people that were trying to sell tickets that were fake. It's just wrong. It's a society that's just messed up with people that want to scam people. But yeah, it's just, I remember at least 2 or 3 times, my mate would be paying and I'd duck under the turnstile.
Yeah.
So I got in for free quite a few times. But I actually, one time I actually came home and I let it slip that I got in for free, and I told my granddad, and he nearly belted me. He was like, that's disgusting. He's like, never do that again. And I never did. Like my granddad was always, he's the one that took me to the games, because my dad was into rugby and he thought football was for sissies. He just was never into it. And plus, like, he worked in the Middle East, so he was gone 9 months out the year. So my granddad took me all the time. But yeah, he nearly took off his belt and was like, how dare you? Like, try, get in for free when you're supposed to pay. I was like, sorry, granddad. Never do that again.
And you never did, no, did you?
I mean, when all my granddad used to do was like, just used to do this, like, to me, and then give me the look, and I'm like,
that's it then, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, granddad's come from a time where he would wear a suit to the match all the time. Like, even in the summer, he'd wear his like tweed suit. I'm like, granddad, aren't you hot?
I know.
He's like, nah. Yeah, I'd never see a bead of sweat coming from him.
That was the culture, wasn't it? Like, because I was brought up by my grandparents. Like, my dad, he'd sit in like full trousers and like braces on, and like a shirt, and I'm like, he sat in his house. Do you know what I mean? Now, like, people, he had more on in his house than what people were going out on a night out. Now, you know what I mean? It's what it used to be like. And you look on the old pictures, like from the like 50s, 40s, and 50s and 60s, and they were all really smart. Like the whole generation going back, it goes smarter. We're getting less and less smart as the years are going on. So like, God knows where we're going to be in the future. It's what's people going to be wearing in 40 years time? That's what I want to know.
Bin bags.
Yeah, you probably will be.
I'm sure your granddad was like mine as well. Like, it'd be a nice summer, he'd be sat outside in like tweed pants, right, rolled
Yeah,
up to the knee,
yeah,
maybe a undershirt on, and then
yeah,
obviously the handkerchief on his
yeah,
head with the
yeah,
four corners.
yeah,
That was my granddad, and I'd
yeah.
always go, "Granddad, like, why are you dressed like that?" He's like, "Well, you never know who's going to come to the house." I'm like, "What?" He always
Oh,
had some great sayings. Like he was like a shirt and a jacket away from, being impeccable at
yeah, all times.
I always loved that. But yeah,
Yeah,
some of the stuff I was wearing, my granddad would just shake his head, like, pull your pants up,
yeah,
zip your jacket up, do
yeah.
this. He's like, I think he, like, even polo shirts, I never used to button like the top when I was younger. And he's like, what's the point of
Now
it?
I'd be doing this now, wouldn't I? I need to be doing that. It's got
Yeah,
to be
well,
like,
they always say, like, there's three buttons. Those buttons are made for buttoning.
yeah,
So from that day on, I always wear me polo shirt, like, all
button
buttoned up.
right up now. Like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
My neck's too fat. I can't actually do that. So that's the only reason. I won't be able to talk if I do. You
You
lose me
sound like a
halfway
smoker.
through. I sound really hoarse when I'm reading the poem out to you in a minute. It's yeah, it's funny. But yeah, no mate, it's different generations, isn't it? And like you said, it's mad how, like, yeah, even back then I don't think didn't really have scarves and flags as much, did they? It was more everyone go to it. It was like a formal occasion, wasn't it? Going to match, and you look back and they all had the hats on and the full suits on, and and even going to the beach. You're like, why are you going to the beach dressed? Because we were in the 80s, and we got this like old video recorder. So my dad had like a full suit, not almost a full suit on, but like a shirt and trousers in Spain, shirt and trousers on, and a massive camera. He looked like he was from the BBC or someone. It was like, back in the day. So like this huge camera where you loaded the videos in there and everything. But yeah, great times, mate. Yeah, as I say, being a fan, like being a Red, it's lucky really when you don't realise the global aspect to it all when you're that young either, like how much I mean, it's gone even more so now, but the club's growing and growing. But even back then, it was, it was well renowned, and you don't realise till you get a bit older when you go to America or you go to other countries and you say, oh, where are you from? You say, oh, Liverpool, and they go, oh, mate, obviously the Beatles, and but then it's like, oh, Liverpool Football Club, and they all know, they know it, and it's mad, really. I mean, you'll know this as well, and I know it's slightly different in America, but it's a growing trend, isn't it, with soccer, with footy over there, and yeah, it's fascinating, really.
Yeah, I don't think anyone over there has come up to me and gone, are you an Everton fan?"
I know, that's
No
it.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I mean. I've got a couple of cousins that are Evertonians,
yeah,
and I love having a dig at them. I
yeah.
really, you know, let me ask you this. What's your thoughts on, like, they've been in near relegation the last, what, 3-4 years?
Yeah.
I'm happy for them to get relegated. I really am. And I know it sounds like weird and like, you're just like, well, we need these two teams in the city. I just want them relegated for a season. I don't want them to do like a Leeds or
Yeah.
like that. I'd like them to bounce back. I just want them to just go away from my life for a
Is that
year.
what it was? Just get them done and get them down. I think it's a tough one because obviously half my family are Everton fans, so I think it's hard that really because yeah, as a fan, like I think because to be fair, they've been through a lot, and I think some of their own fans almost went, "Let's just get it done. Let's just go down and get it fit," rather than being almost there all the time. And I think, me personally, I'm not bothered to go down. I mean, for me, because it's family and that, and like that's the beauty of the city in a way. I've got that. Although it's a rivalry, I'm not against them. Like I'm not dead set against Everton personally. I think it's I don't like it when it's the other way around and they're all having a go and and all. It's all that stuff. And I think in recent years it has gone. Oh, it's gone a bit better again, but it's been a bit tasty in some of the derby matches, which is a shame. Because that's what I've always liked about the city. Because I've been in the Gladys Street end, everyone's in blue. I've had a red top on, and no one's had a go at me. and I've respected that. Yeah, you've had a bit of banter. What are you doing in here and joking and that? But that's what I do genuinely like about Liverpool as a city. It is, you can be a blue and a red next to each other, and you don't have that really deep-seated bitter rivalry. I mean, some people do, and everyone's different. But me personally, no. I like it. I like that fact that you don't. I still like them to go down, but no, I'm joking.
Well,
It's,
they would have the best stadium in the championship. That
it
would be
would,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I had a guest on, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, and he kind of put it like really well. He's like, I don't mind Everton doing well, just as long as Liverpool do better.
That's it. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
If Everton came second in the league, I'd be all right with it as long as
I'm the
Liverpool.
same. Yeah, I'm the same as that. I think like it's good for the things like, I mean, going back to the 80s again, those FA Cup final matches, Liverpool-Everton. I remember standing in the house again. Some of my mates, a lad called Paul Jones, he was an Everton fan, and all his family. I was in his house, and all my family came over as Reds, and we were all together. And it was just that, cup final matches. And so as long as we won or we win, I'm happy, But I don't mind if they're like up there and they're doing well. It doesn't faze me. If anything, I quite like it because it's good for the city again. I think that's what I do love about Liverpool as a city. It's everyone looks out for each other. And it is and that's a really nice thing for me. I love it.
Well, I mean, Everton have always supported us with Hillsborough, so we have off to what they do, and we do come together. But yeah, just that little piece of me is just like, go away for a year,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
go away.
Get out.
Especially after they beat us last season, I was livid. I mean, for the derbies though, like I just miss like the Gerrard tackles.
Yeah.
There hasn't been like a hard man on our team or their team in a long time, and I just miss that. Like that the last few derbies have just been very tame for me.
Yeah. I think it's like with the derbies. I mean, especially our side. As you say, losing to Everton, that was a big loss for us, wasn't it? But I think having that tenacity, like that's what there was in there, wasn't it? There was a tenacity of like with Stevie, there was a lot of sending offs as well, during those matches. But I think it's that up for the battle, and going toe to toe, and it's always like that with a derby match. But it's lost that element of the importance of it, of saying, this is massive. It's a massive game. I know the United seen as the big game, it still is, but a derby match is still, you love it, don't you? Especially if it's away or home or whatever. It's amazing, mate. We're having those matches of red and blue, and so the songs flying out. And as I say, even in the old Cop, like it was, you'd be on the old Cop, and all the blue, Everton would all be on one side, and Liverpool would all be on the other. You know what I mean? And that's unique. To mix everyone together, no barriers between anyone really, just a few stewards spread about, but having that collective thing together of all going like that at each other and chanting and during the match. That's unique in football, really. I think you couldn't do that. I don't know, whether you could do that today or not. Obviously, you can't. But I think that's the history of it, and I think being able to, I think there's a level of like, it's like any sport, isn't it? Like a respect. I think if you once you lose the respect, that to me, like boxers are great. I know they have a lot of banter, but there's genuinely like often a handshake afterwards. A lot of it's for the media. But you have that real toe to toe. I'm going to do this, you're that, and the other, and then there's a handshake afterwards, and good luck and well done. And I think I like the battle. I don't like it when it goes too far and you end in any of the other stuff going on. I think respect is a big thing, and I think that's what I like, definitely.
100%. So going back, who's your childhood hero?
Oh, I think going back to the like the Fowler poem that I wrote, because he was obviously known as God. So I think to me, Fowler was my idol, mate. I mean, growing up in the mid-90s watching footy, he was like, the star, the up-and-coming 18-year-old, and watching watching him scoring early on and thinking, I want to be him, having Fowler on the back, it was all that, mate. I mean, Fowler, he's my, he's my little idol growing up. He still is now, and I think that's, it's amazing to like, just to look back and think then, you know, a young lad from Liverpool can get in the team. You know, you've got stars. Even then, there were stars coming from all around the UK and you know, from abroad as well. And to be able to like walk into that team the way he did, and the way he shone, and the goals he scored, and the way he did it, you know, and he was an Everton fan, and then becoming a Red, and you know, and then scoring against Everton. You know, I was there in the Derby match when he scored, and that feeling of yes, you know what I mean. He's one of us. He's done it. So it's for me, it's still there now. It's still raw as ever. You know, Fowler's the one. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
he probably has one of the best goal celebrations.
Yeah,
As we all know, you know,
yeah,
the eating grass
yeah.
celebration
Down the touchline. Yeah,
is brilliant. I mean, there's T-shirts made about it, which I've is absolutely brilliant. We have a friend that has a T-shirt shop called Up the Reds,
yeah,
and he did the Fowler on the line
yeah.
T-shirts and sent us some, and they're absolutely boss. I get a good every time I see somebody wear them, I just get a good chuckle.
It's
Like
just the way he tried to cover it and stuff. It was just funny, wasn't it? But like, yeah, it's yeah, it was a brilliant. Yeah, they were the days of just like there was a rawness to football. You know, I think there was like that still element of yes, there was a media aspect, but it was a bit more raw, and I think you could do certain things, and you know, all within you know reason and everything. But it was fun. It was fun. There was a lot, you know. And the flip side of it is, you know, there was a time, you know, against Arsenal where Fowler went down. I don't remember this, and he jumped over Seaman's legs, and the ref gave a pen, and he was like, "No, it wasn't a pen." So you know, there's imagine that nowadays. You know, he didn't want the penalty. You know what I mean? So I think there's that side of it as well where you know it's yeah. I think football in the 90s was a bit raw still. I think it was going through the transition of when the media was coming in to take it and stuff, and then it was all getting the big time, you know, and that was a transition. Obviously, when United came in and that first run of becoming that global massive entity of a team in Europe as well. And I think, yeah, that it was a lovely time to be a fan. I think it was, we didn't win a lot. I mean, I had a season ticket for 5 years, didn't win a thing. Then I had to give it up, unfortunately, because of money and being away at university and everything. And then we went and won the treble. So I think I don't go to match anymore, just in case just so we win. That's it. That's the only reason. But yeah,
yeah, I mean it's tough. I mean it's tough for me because you know I'm 3,000 miles away from
yeah,
home, and you know watching it on the telly is obviously not the same as being in Anfield.
no,
The the great thing is, you know, we have a supporters club here, and it's really great. You know, they pack the pub every week. It's great to see. I mean, it definitely shows me the support when some of these people get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be down the pub at 6 for the 6:30 kickoffs. You know,
yeah,
obviously noon back in the UK, but it's just grown so much, and it's nice to see. You know, I still wish they would call it football and soccer. You
yeah,
know, that's still
yeah,
weird to me. Um, I can forgive him for that because it's just been amazing. You know, like I said, I've been over there for a while, and it's just really cool to see how much not just Liverpool's grown, but football. I mean, obviously we've got the World Cup is going to be in the States, Canada, and Mexico.
yeah,
So it's great because I've always said this. You know, America. I think the first is American football, then it's baseball, then basketball, then football is probably down. But it doesn't cost much to play it. All
yeah.
you need is a ball. You
That's
know,
it.
while
Yeah,
American football, if you want to do that, you've got to buy the pads, the helmet. Baseball, it's the bat, the helmet. You know, the whole.
yeah,
But football, you just need a football and somewhere to play it.
yeah.
And
That's the
I think,
beauty of it, isn't it? And like you said, Brazil and places like that, prime example. You can play on the streets, and all you need is it's an inflatable thing, isn't it? You know, with a bit of leather around it. And I think that's the beauty of football. It's universal, so you can be at different ends of the spectrum in terms of how much money you've got and everything. But all you really need is an inflatable, a bit of inflatable leather, really, isn't it? And a few mates to kick it about with, or even the wall. It's not hard, is it? So I think that's the beauty of football and why, you know, it's resonated with people. And I mean, it did start down like the docks as well, didn't it? Everyone kicking like an old leather heavy ball round. And I think that sort of working class element is nice to keep that in there, you know, with football. I think it's lost a bit of that, I'll be honest, but I think it could retain a bit some of that back again and not forget even the way the club should run a bit more, actually not forget its local fan base. And, you know, I know it's a fantastic big, you know, global brand still, but don't forget, you know, where, because I don't, you know, even when I don't did the that Klopp film, I don't live in Liverpool anymore, but going back and going into Anfield and being amongst even people who live around Anfield, they just loved it. They were standing there, they were in awe, and actually how nice they are, you know, like opening the door, do you want a cup of tea? You know, all that stuff. I think there's a massive, huge stadium, like literally yards away from them. But they're like the most down to earth people, and they'll open the door to you in the terraced house and say, "Come in, do you want a cup of tea? You can use me out. Do you want to use the toilet? You sure you don't need anything?" And it's that like, you know, that community feeling. And I think that's what I love about my background. You know, I've lived all around the UK now, and I've done all right for myself. But actually, I'll never forget those streets, and that's still instilled in me, that community aspect. And I think community within a club is, you know, the global scale Liverpool is still there. I just think you could do a bit more to retain some of that stuff still. And I think that's why, you know, when I wrote the poem Mark Klopp, I wanted it to come from Anfield, and that's why we did the mural, and that's why we, you know, and all those things involved in it. I wanted it to feel quite authentic from the city as well as from the football club. So I think that's really important to me. Like I instill that into my kids now. You know, they might grow up in, not, I wouldn't say nicer area in some respects, but I think community is huge. And I think we've, you know, a lot of people around the world could look at Liverpool and inner city Liverpool, and there's the community aspect to it, because they all look out for each other, you know, and there's a real, like, you know, core community thing. And I think that's as big an aspect on the football club as it is the players and the money and the value of everything. I think that could be definitely pushed a bit more again and remembered. And they can champion that, and they do, you know. And I think the more, and the stuff they do with the communities and as a club and the foundation stuff they do, I think that's amazing. That's the thing I love about the club. And as long as we can retain that side of things, I'm happy, you know, because I'm proud of the city, and I'm sure you are. And I think I'm proud to be from Liverpool, you know. And I always say, yeah, it's the community, it's the closeness, it's the friendliness, it's the open door. You know, it's that I love more than the football. I'll be honest, like going down with your mates, looking out for other people, and, you know, it's not all perfect, and not everyone's always perfect, but there is a real sense of community. And I think, you know, if people haven't been to Liverpool and you're watching this, go down and go and chat to a few locals, and you'll see how friendly they are. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, well, I think like the footy is second for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's hanging with me mates, going down the pub, meeting people, and just not even talking about football. This is before the game, just talking about life. And you know, when people ask how you're doing in Liverpool, they really mean it.
Yeah.
You know,
and they've got time, you know, you can talk, and someone like, how's it going? And, you know, like, I'm not saying it, there are other fantastic places and people are friendly, you know, it's not a generalization, but there is a genuineness and an authentic, like, when, as you said, when someone asks, how are you? They genuinely are interested, and they do listen, they do have time. And, you know, and like you said, it's a rarity these days, you know. And I think people, you know, I lived in London. It's one of the best cities in the world for opportunities. It's a fantastic city. It's amazing. Like, I loved it there for my career, but actually that city could learn a lot from Liverpool as a community. You know, I think there's loads of pockets of fantastic communities there, but overall that it doesn't have that same open door aspect, you know. And I think that's what Liverpool genuinely does have. And people say to me, "Oh, you're so friendly." I'm like, that's normal where I'm from. People just talk to you, like they just like, how's it going? They say hiya to you when you're walking down, or hello when you're walking down the street, depending on, you know, what area you're in. But I think, yeah, it's the best part about it, and being being a Liverpool fan, like when I fly the flag, it's about the city as much as it is, you know, the liver birds, and I'm just proud of being from there, you know, and it'll always stay with me. Yeah, definitely.
Sean, you need to get on Liverpool's tourism board.
I'll try my best. That's what I'm getting paid for now. They're subsidising me to say all this, you know. I've actually got a little script here that I'm reading off for them. But yeah, it's definitely that.
Well, I want to get into your writing, you know, because I'm always curious. Like, you know, obviously you're a writer, you're a poet. Where does that come from? Like, was it in school where you're just like, I like writing?
Yeah, so it all kind of started for me. I went to Calderstone School in Allerton Road, or Caldies it's called, and I was quite good at English, so I always wrote. But it was a kind of English literature, so it was all kind of the writing and the expressive writing that I was quite good at. And then I went to uni and I did almost the complete opposite. I went into the art side of it in terms of the visual side of it. And then I did graphic design at uni. But it was during the fourth year at university. I won this thing called the D&AD award. So it was Design and Art Direction Award. So it was basically for a campaign that I did. It was an anti-advertising campaign that if you write, you know, people didn't realize the ASA stood up against, you know, wrong adverts and all that stuff. So I got that brief and I was like, oh, that sounds amazing. So I did this idea back in the day before emails. It was like you write a letter to them. So I just did the difference a letter can make, and it was hit. And can I swear on here? Am I allowed to swear on here?
You're allowed to swear, mate.
Yeah, hit and shit, rap and crap, and it was all that stuff. And it was like the difference a letter can make. If you write to us, the ASA, it doesn't matter how big the brand is. You know, we can do something about it. If you deem it to be offensive or, you know, sexist or whatever that is, and that was the whole campaign. And all I did was going through the dictionary, like, yeah, to me. And so that renewed that sort of interest in writing again. It's always been through these waves. So then I went and did like advertising, and I did loads of ideas and worked on big brands. And then it was about 6 years ago when the writing started to come through again. Because I did a course in 2008, which was creative writing. And I started to write poetry then. And I remember reading one of my poems out, and the whole class stopped. And the guy leading the class went, "Can you read that again? That's amazing." And that kind of, it's almost been piecing it together. It's been going along. And then basically my mum, who was my grandmother to me, she developed dementia during the pandemic. And I wrote a poem called Imagine, because it was all about that idea of, you know, until you've been through dementia as a family, you can't imagine what it's like. So I wrote this poem called Imagine. And again, that triggered the whole poem. And I cried writing Imagine, you know, and that kind of really resonated with me. And then I kind of got it all down. And then we made a film with Alzheimer's Society that I directed with them. And again, the poetry came through. And I started to think there's a kind of pattern here going on of like this poetry and this writing is really coming through. And I'm going more and more into the writing now. So again, I just write loads. I just write poems all the time. I write poems about things I'm doing, my experiences, and it's become more and more prevalent in what I do in my day-to-day life. And people seem to love them. You know, like the Klopp one is an example. I wrote that. I got upset because Klopp was leaving. You know, it is sad. You know, I'm not going to lie. And I thought I'll do something about that. And I just sat down and wrote our Klopp, because that's what he is. He's our Klopp. And it all came out again. And I thought, you know what, I'll just express how I feel and what he means to the club. And I just wrote it all down. I've actually got it there. You want me to read it out to you?
Yeah. Would you please?
Yeah, so I wrote our Klopp. And as I say, it was a really poignant time. And I thought, you know what, we can do something with this. But I'll read it out to you anyway. So, our Klopp. The first moment you touched our sign. A normal one we knew would be fine. The team now scoring at will. That unforgettable night, beating Barca 4-0. Mo scoring with another gem. Anfield, a fortress once again. The final whistle and the loudest of cheers. Getting our hands on all big ears. Those fist pumps stood in front of the cop. That smile, those glasses, our Klopp. On to the next one, and the biggest of all. The title calling with every kick of the ball. Ending that wait of 30 years, an empty Anfield still brought us to tears. Everyone stood there, ready to applaud. The freedom of the city your reward. A new team, Liverpool 2.0. You at the helm, our cult hero. Wembley, the youngsters stepping up, adding to history, another League Cup. Thanks for everything you've done. Most of all, for making it fun. This place will always be your home. Jurgen, you'll never walk alone. There you go.
See, and as you're doing that, I can hear George.
Yeah.
Like how did I mean? You're right in that, right?
Yeah.
But did you just do that for yourself, or were you already planning on?
I was planning it. Yeah, I was planning it to come out. Yeah. So I knew, because of what I do, I know it resonates with people. It takes me time. I can't just like I'm quite quick, but I have to keep thinking. It takes me a few days to get into the rhythm of it all and thinking, going the chronological order of everything, and it was working it all out. So I started doing that. I thought I actually pictured it getting made. It's positive visualization, which I'm doing all the time now, and that's something I do a lot now. So I went, this is going to get made. It's going to be on the screen. I can see it happening. And I just kept thinking that. And I just kept thinking that. And I was like sending it to people, writing. I was like, and then Mark Silver from Murals, I said to him, look, you've got a fantastic mural. I'd love to project onto your mural and make it in Anfield. It'd be amazing. And he just said, yeah. And I was like, what? Just like, I don't know what it was. It just all worked. And then, yeah, we just made it, and it was just amazing, and double take projections. These guys up in Edinburgh, they're fantastic, and they got involved as well, and we just made it. And it's a passion. When you've got passion, and you believe in something, and I think positive visualization. I know it sounds, you might think, oh, it's all pie in the sky stuff, but I actually don't. I believe in a lot of that, because I think even if it's not about magic, I think it's about positivity. If you think something and you're so passionate about something, people don't like getting in your way almost. They think, why, I'll help you. And then and it snowballs. I knew writing it genuinely that it would get made. And then standing there at Anfield and seeing it projected up, it was like a live theatre show, for about 2 minutes on a loop. And people come up with the camera phones, and people like, did you write that? And I was like, yeah, I'm wanting to get pictures and taking, and it was just amazing to be involved in. But yeah, to answer your question, I did know it was going to get made, yeah. And I think I'm doing a lot more of that at the moment. There's a lot of good stuff coming, films, and I'm going to do loads of good stuff. So it's just a case of, yeah, knowing that you're going to do it. So yeah, it's good.
Did you already know like who you wanted, like George?
Yeah,
because
I thought, yeah.
obviously the most iconic voice in Anfield is George. This is his, I think it's 52nd season with Liverpool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's mad. I mean, I know George, and we've had him on like 2 or 3 times, and like he's never told the same story twice. Like, he's just brilliant storyteller. And again, when I first saw that video, I was like, wow, this is so well done. And to have George on there as well, because every Liverpool fan obviously was in love with Klopp. They wanted a Klopp hug. I wanted a Klopp hug.
Yeah.
But it's what you said in there that resonated with me as well, is about like, he got the freedom at the City. Is Klopp understood Scousers. Klopp understood the City, and we understood Klopp. Again, it was more than football.
Yeah.
It was just I'm never going to say never, but I don't think for a very long time we will have somebody like Klopp.
Yeah.
As a manager. He's once in a lifetime. We had Shankly, obviously. Paisley was Mr. Quiet, but won everything. Kenny, quiet as well. Really, for a Scotsman, that's tough to be quiet.
It is, yeah.
But to get George on there, like, was he your first choice? I got to have George.
Yeah, well, to be honest, it was one of two. It was either going to be George or Ricky Tomlinson, and we couldn't get Ricky. I'm putting it out there, Ricky, you should have done it, mate. But yeah, we wanted George as well because actually it was destiny because, as you said, he's synonymous. Ricky's synonymous with Liverpool, but not necessarily Liverpool Football Club. And I think George is the voice. I remember being at Anfield and he was still the voice, and he's still the voice today. And that's a rarity to carry someone for that longer period. You know, the evolution the club's gone through, and yet George is still putting the tunes on, you know, at half time is amazing. And I think he was perfect for it in hindsight. And I think, yeah, I just my brain was like, I want George because it reminds me of being a kid. And I think, you know, Klopp reminded me of being a kid because, like, actually going back over the history of the club, as you said, he's brilliant because he got the city, he gets the city still. And that's why that stanza in the poem that I wrote, you know, the freedom of the city, your reward, that was as important of any of it to me because it, again, like we were talking about earlier, it's about the city, not just about the football club. The football club is the city, you know, and I think you know, it's not the only football club in the city, but it's a big part of it. And I think, you know, I think he gets the city. He just got it straight. He was on a night out the first week, you know, he was out getting, not necessarily deliberately pictured, but he was out meeting people and down with the kids, you know what I mean? And I think that's important because I think a lot of previous managers were trying to do the football side of things, but not embracing the city. And I think if you don't do that, the fans, it's hard to connect with the fans on their level. And I think you need to be on that level to really get to it. And Shankly was straight on a level. He was on that level. He got the city. He talked about it. He talked on a level. He wasn't higher. He wasn't above the ground. You know, the people around the ground in the terraced houses who lived there. He was with them. And I think when you embrace that, that's such a big part of it. It really is. As you said, spot on.
Yeah, and I think all you have to do there is go back to like Brendan, and it was just appointment for me was a bit weird. He's a bit of a strange character, isn't he? Like, you know, I'm from Formby, so you know I've seen him around. Obviously, you know, Klopp went into the same house, Slots in the same house now, but he just kept to himself.
Yeah.
And just didn't like incorporate anything. And I just think, you know, when Klopp came, the first week he was here, you just knew something special was coming. You know, I didn't think we were going to win like the trophies we've won.
Yeah.
And I didn't think, you know, we'd challenge Man City like quite a few seasons, but his personality just shone. And you could tell it wasn't just about football, it was about the community as well. And I think that's the biggest thing I will miss about the big fella.
Yeah, I think that's what was sad, you know. I think because, you know, like you said, for years we had like decent managers, but no one really embraced it because it is an amazing job to be able, you're almost like a spokesperson for the city. You're not just a spokesperson for the club, you're a spokesperson for the city. And I think that's what's missed. So if I was going to give Arne Slot any advice on here, it would be embrace that position as much, if not more, than being the manager, because I think you are a spokesperson for the city. And I think if you understand that, they'll get you and you'll get them, and then they'll actually forgive you for the football. You can lose. Klopp had a terrible season, you know, and anyone else would have been booted out, but the fans weren't getting on his back. The fans weren't trying to get rid of him, you know, because they'd embraced him as a person. And I think that's the most important aspect, I'll be honest. We're not the type of club who wants to be picking managers out left, right and centre every year. You know, we're not like that. We want longevity. We wanted Klopp to stay for another 40, you know, 30 years if he could, you know what I mean? And, you know, whether that was ever possible, I wouldn't know. But I think, you know, it's a spokesperson for the city. And I think that's the role you're taking on. And then you're the manager of Liverpool Football Club. That's the way I describe it. And once you get that, you get the club, get you, and you get the club. And Klopp got that from day one, literally from the first moment he walked in. He knew the name of all the staff, you know, and I think that level of no one's above anyone else. Obviously, you know, your hierarchy, but no one, that's what I've always learned, even when going through the ranks, when I've gone up in business and when I've done stuff. The best advice I've ever been given is don't forget the receptionist or the people on the door, or don't, you know, because they're the most important people. They are, because they meet and greet clients coming in. They're the most important people, and you don't diss them or forget them, or and that sort of, we're all one is a big part of it again, and I think that's what the city tries to encourage. Yeah, and that's what I've learned, definitely, mate.
Yeah, hopefully when I go back home next, I'll see Slot in the pub and he can buy me a pint, and then I'll really get behind him then.
Well, you can ask him now on here. We're on here now. You can ask him to do it. But I think honestly, it is that. It's definitely that. It's the manager of Liverpool Football Club is more than just a manager, and you have to take that on. If you don't, that's the weight of the role. And then if you can embrace that, you'll fly. You'll literally fly, because the football is important and results are important. But yeah, that's what Klopp, as I say, he got it straight away, and that's why he was our Klopp, because he was just one of us. It's
Well, I think Klopp parting when he said like trophies mean so much more to us than they do other clubs.
Yeah,
and and people, I think, especially in the media, took it like the wrong way, as per usual, as they usually do. People will go, well, I'd rather have Man City's trophies. Well, you know what? You can have those, and you can have those 115 charges as well with them, you cheating little bastards.
yeah.
I'd rather do it the way we do it, which is playing on a level playing field. And Klopp knew, maybe, there's some days and some seasons, in the transfer market that Klopp would just probably like to run to the end of his back garden and scream and just be like, oh, I just wish I had one more player, in. Yeah. I understand that. But he knew how FSG worked, as does Slot, If Slot didn't approve of how FSG run, he wouldn't have taken the job. Same with Klopp. Klopp knows how FSG work, and I'd rather win the trophies we've won the way we've won them. Means so much more to me. Would I have liked more Premier Leagues? Of course I would. Well, I like more Champions League? Of course I would. But you know what? We've won them fair and square.
Yeah.
And definitely. I 100%, that's the way I want my football club to be run.
Yeah.
And, we were lucky to get somebody like Klopp. But, the Klopp era is over. So, we've got, I don't know, his first name I don't know how the Dutch say it, because I was trying to, it's not Arne, it's not Arnie. It's like a rolling, like, something like
that. Yeah, it's a Scouse version of it with the little going on as well.
Yeah,
I've got our own version of it.
I call him Slotty, but
it's easier, isn't it?
We've got a new manager come in. Obviously, we talked off camera, about him being quiet the first 3.5 weeks? No, probably more like a month. And both of us didn't have a problem with that. A lot of people had a problem with it, because they just gagging for a slot presser or something, and I kind of was ready for no football at the time when Klopp left. It's hard to do when you have a podcast and not want to talk about footy. You have to. And I was ready for a break. I think most of us were ready for a break. I just think, as we've talked, people get so impatient about things, and I don't understand it. We just had this massive, and it was a massive farewell. It wasn't like 2 days of Klopp. It was like counting down from as soon as he said it to, I don't think. Let me ask you, before we really talk about Slot, let me ask you, when you first heard Klopp say it, and then to the end of because we were still in with a chance at the beginning of April.
Yeah.
Do you think that affected any of the players whatsoever that Klopp said he was leaving?
I think it initially will have done, but I don't think the results came off the back of Klopp leaving. I just think, I think because people were looking for that by saying, you know, actually, because he said that it wasn't the best timing, because obviously in an ideal world you would have waited till the end of the season, because it wasn't the best news to hear, was it? So it was almost a reversal actually, because we were doing really well up until after he first announced it. We were flying still, and it was only later on, and then everyone's like, oh, that's because he said that, you know, and I don't think it was, because it wasn't like it was an immediate impact. So I don't think it was relevant, really. I'll be honest. I think just the team just ran out of steam. I'll be honest. We had four things we were going for, and we had a new midfielder, and actually the players' performances started to dip. It was as simple as that. I think some of the players had come in, you know, and they were doing really well, and then some weren't, and then we never quite got that fluidity, because to win any trophy, you need that repetitive consistency, and you need at least five of your core players to keep that, you know, real consistency going in every single game. And when that starts to dip, which it did, we were just coming off, and one player was doing all right, and then other players weren't doing so good, and then every week there was a couple of players doing all right, and then we lost that whole core. You need that core 5 or 6 players bare minimum of top playing at the best, and I think to get, especially with the league, you know, you're going against City and that, and I think that we just started to dip. I just think it was the squad started to show the signs of we had a refresh and we weren't in the rhythm fully, and then some of the players weren't quite going as well as they could be, and we you know, because actually, as I say, straight after the decision we were doing all right, you know, we were flying still, and we were still up for the trophies up until weeks before the end of the season. It wasn't like, you know, it was months after, you know, a couple of months after he'd announced it, that it actually started to take effect on the players. But I don't know what you think, but I don't personally feel like it wouldn't have helped, but I don't think it was the direct reason as to why we didn't win the 4 trophies, you know. I don't think that was the main reason.
Yeah, I just think, like you just said, I think, you know, we'd get 2 players back from injury, and then have 2 players get injured. And then I think we brought Trent back too early.
Yeah.
I think Sloboslai was brilliant the first 3-4 months. And
that's
then
an example of,
and off the cliff.
Yeah.
Jota was playing absolutely fantastic, and then he got injured again. So yeah, it was just stop, start, and I just think, you know, for us, it was a month too long for the season, and it, you know, it did what it did. We still got top 4, still got a trophy. So in my book, you know, that was good. But I'm looking forward to Slot. I am. I like how he's gone about his business quietly. You know, his first presser, I don't know what people were really expecting. Like he was going to say, look, getting rid of half the squad because they're crap. And I'm going to spend 500 million, and I'm going to bring in world-class players, and we're going to be the best in the world.
Yeah, and I'm the intelligent one. They wanted a name, they wanted a thing, they wanted a big, massive, they wanted headlines. And actually, he didn't give them headlines. He gave them headlines, but he didn't rise to it. And I quite like that, because he can't go toe to toe with Klopp straight away. And as he said, it's what Klopp said when he first came in. It's not when you first come in what people say about you. It's when you leave. And you know, and Slot brought that back up again. I thought that was quite intelligent way of doing it, because actually he's going to be judged when he leaves, not now, because he's got so much to try and prove. You know, and he's on the back foot in the sense of it's Jurgen Klopp. It's like, you know, following him isn't easy for anyone, is it? So I think, I think he's handled it really well up to now. You know, it's only the proof's going to be in the pudding, isn't it? Really, he's got a chance to come in a fantastic football club at a transitional period, but still a top level transitional period. So he only needs to tweak a few things, and he can fly. So I think. I'm with you. I'm positive about it. I think I'm sad because he's not Klopp, you know, because obviously the personality, the laughs, the jokes, and all that stuff. But again, you know, everyone's different, aren't they? You know, it doesn't mean he isn't going to do a fantastic job. Let's see. I hope he does. You know, at the end of the day, everyone wants to see him do well. You know, there's going to be the pessimists who say he's got no chance. You know, what's he proven? What's he done? I need to be proven before any of that stuff. Whereas I'm not like that, mate. I'm the other end of the scale, where it's like, you know what, I'm good on him. I hope he does well, and you know, I just really hope we do really well. And I think next season, this coming season would be great to just even just level what we've done. Get back, stay in the Champions League, have a good cup run, maybe win a trophy, keep it up there, keep that momentum going. And then anything else is a bonus. If we do challenge for the league and we do win the league, that would be amazing. But I don't expect fireworks straight away, because it all takes is one loss and the media will be all over his back and it'll be pressure. So hopefully, yeah, that's a positive thing. I think he could be really good. I really do.
Well, I mean, you have to go into being a bit positive, but a realist as well. I'm just looking forward to watching Liverpool again. I've got no expectation that Klopp left this team in a good spot. We've kept the core players. I'm pretty sure contracts will be sorted for Trent and for Virgil and for. I just do. I just think they're in a tournament at the moment, and I think people forget that there's 2 tournaments going on.
Yeah,
so and again, like we talked off camera, who cares what Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, or any other football club are doing in the transfer window? I could care less.
Yeah.
That's why does that affect us? If you followed Liverpool, especially under Michael Edwards, we've been stealth.
Yeah, and as you said, it's the players we bought. It's not about like spending the fortune. It's not about, as we were talking off camera earlier, it's not about winning the transfer market, is it? It's about getting the right players in and those players in the right positions. It's obvious stuff, but I think these days it's all about like sensationalizing, isn't it? Like the transfer market, there's so much, and all this counting down and all these deadlines and the countdown clock and who's all these room and actually, you know what? None of that matters, because at the end of the day, as long as we've got the right squad and we fill the right spaces in and we go about in the right manner, that's all Klopp's done really. And we've sold players well as we were talking about earlier. We haven't just bought well, we've sold well, and I think we've actually got rid of players, that would have been squad players, but from a high market value. And I think when you bring that together, that's where our spending's been brought down, because we have spent a decent amount of money, but we've also, brought money back into the club. And I think that clever way of, selling the right players for the right price is as important as buying the right players, and I think, yeah, as you said, it's totally the transfer market is all bells and whistles. At the end of the day, it's getting the right players and the play, and what Klopp was fantastic at, and I hope Slot can do the same, is getting the current squad and raising the level, bringing those players up. So taking these sort of average players, but making them like world beaters, that's what Klopp was fantastic at. And I think, it's brilliant. Hopefully we can do anything near what we did under Klopp. I'm sure you will be as well, happy. The one thing I did miss about Klopp was that he was an entertainer, and we were entertaining to watch. And I hope Slot, I'm sure he feels a similar system, being entertaining to watch. Is you want to go and enjoy it. You don't want to go and we've scraped a 1-0 win, or you want to go and on the front foot, like those games when we were really at the height of it, where the Arsenal match and we were like 4-0 up after like 11 minutes, or and like they coming out, it's like it's like a greyhound out their traps. We were like on them, that pressing style and the excitement. That's what you want at Anfield. You want, from the very first whistle, closing the players down, impacts, attacking, and that I think that's what Slot will bring again. I think that pressing and that excitement on the front foot is what he'll bring. We might be a bit weak at the back sometimes, but we were like that with Klopp. It was the amount of like 4-3 matches and mad last minute goals, and I think what we were great at as well, which United did in the 90s really well, was we played right to the last 10 minutes, even into injury time, was that like going at them, go, you know what I mean? Like just attack. And that's what I hope for. If we can keep that style of football in, that'd be amazing. That's what I think.
I think Slot's a bit like Klopp. Like he likes the youngsters being bedded in. And, if it was up to some people, none of these youngsters would have come through. You know, the Konza, everybody was moaning and groaning about getting a world-class centre-back last summer. And Klopp goes, nah, we're all right. And people thought he was mental. And then Kwanzaa comes and you're just like, where's he been? And same, you know, Connor Bradley, Bobby Clark, Dans, Doak, you know, Kai Gordon. Like, we have so many good youngsters that can make the step up. And that's what I'm looking forward to. And I think, you know, even with Sanderberg, we've got to like give the lad a chance, you know, not just go. I mean, he was voted the best young centre back in Bundesliga last season. So I mean, why not give him a chance? Why not give these players a chance? We bought Andy Robbo for 7.5 million. And he's still one of the best world.
Absolute bargain, like you said. And those sort of because the team's evolved now, hasn't it? It was getting to, you know, if you look at your Van Dijk's, they're like early 30s now, and then bringing the youngsters in and having that depth between, you know, old and young. I think that's really important. As you said, bringing the youngsters through is massive, because it's just nice to see, you know, that group of players as well. Like you say, you know, your Bobby Clarks and those players of like that collective, like you say, with the you know, the cup win as well. You know, they took over that, they won that, didn't they? You know, and I think that's the only trophy we won last season. So, you know, it's amazing to see like they did that, you know, and it was like, that was what I was celebrating again, that win in the poem, because actually it's nice when you've got all this talk about loads of money spending, when actually it's not all about that. It's about, you know, because if you look back, we've always brought you know, good players through the ranks, you know, maybe not like United did in a whole group, but this is one of the first times I've seen an entire group since the 90s of, you know, you've had your Trents, you've had your Stevies and your Carras, but it was always one or two or three. It wasn't six, you know, 6 or 7 all around the same age, all coming through. So I'm with you. I think that's one of the most exciting things to look, you know, on the club next season is these youngsters coming. It's amazing, isn't it, to see like a massive group of all these young lads coming through together, because actually you've got your core then, haven't you? They've already played together. You haven't got to fit them in and try and make them work, how they're going to fit into or how they're going to knock the current, you know, guys out, or they'll come in as a collective and you can intersperse them within the team and actually use them during cup games, and then they'll hopefully be the future of the club. And yeah, it's a bright future. Like you said, he just needs to put the right players in at the right time, you know, cherry pick who we get in the transfer market and just keep the momentum up. And it's not a lot. Like, I don't think he's got loads. I don't think he's got that hard a task to do. I think the only main thing would be, like, as we discussed before, is making sure he beds into the city and understands the city. And, you know, I think that's the biggest challenge he'll face, I'll be honest. I think if he's winning every match, he'll be fine. But if he starts losing games, then that's the only thing where if you're not bedding in, you're not grounded with it, you know, you're like a Rodgers or whatever we were talking about before, you know, it's different. You know, you start, because, you know, we've had managers in, you know, like you say, Hodgson and Clayton and people like that, you know, had a fantastic track record, but it never quite worked for them straight from the off. And you know, straight from the off, it's wrong. And you'll be able to feel it, even whether you're not in the ground or not. You can feel. And at the moment, the only question mark is with him is that there. And I think he needs to just show a bit more of that. I think if my advice would be get in and around the city and as well as on the training field, make sure you bed yourself in, because the place will love you. And then the wider community across the world is the same. They see that and then they embrace it, and everyone embraces it. So yeah, that's it. That's what I'd do.
So as we wind this down, Sean, have you got anything coming up in writing or?
Yeah, like you say, I'm doing all sorts of writing now. So I do like the poetry, something that I do on a regular basis. So I work with charities, I do all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I'm doing loads of stuff at the moment. So I'm working with like hotel groups, they use me poetry. So, and you know, everything from cafes to hotels to, I just write poems now, and then they use them. So it's been amazing, to be honest, to actually see how that's worked. And I'm in the process of I can't say what, but I'm in the process of writing a film at the moment. So yeah, it's quite a big thing coming. So yeah, I've got that down. So I'm speaking to production companies about that at the moment. So yeah, that's the next. Yeah, set in Liverpool, and I can't say any more than that. But yeah, it's gonna be good.
Mum's the word.
Yeah,
Well, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. As I said, like your story just resonated with me, and I just, you know, I I love people with really good stories, and like you said, you're a massive Fowler fan, and then to be able to write a poem for him and then be there again, the murals, is brilliant. And then the Klopp one. Um, I I will put a link to those videos, but I also want to put a link to your Imagine video,
yeah,
because
definitely.
even though I don't have anybody in my family that has dementia, um, it really hit me, for other reasons, because
Yeah.
it's just a beautiful poem. So I'm going to put a link to that. But Sean, it's been an absolute pleasure,
Oh,
mate.
thanks, mate. No, I really appreciate you having me on. It's been brilliant. Yeah, and like you say, I've watched your previous, episodes of this, and I think you're doing really well. I'm made up for you, and I think it's nice to do this because even that's the beauty of technology. Now I know you do, over in the States, but actually, again, it proves to me, like, again, going back to the club, yes, you're in America now, but that doesn't matter. It's about the fan base across the world, and I think that's the beauty of the club, and I'll always champion that. I think it's the passion of a fan and understanding what Liverpool stands for, and that is community, and that is across the world, and that's why people love the club, because it is an open community. It is everyone in. It is you'll never walk alone. It is all those words, and we live by that. And it doesn't. It's the you never walk alone goes beyond the football. It is life. Like, don't walk alone. Don't ever feel like you're alone. And that's what I do. I always say hello to everyone wherever I go, and I talk to people like I am to you now. And I think that's what Klopp is really good at, and I think that's what I hope Slot's going to be good at. And I hope, yeah, that's my little speech for the end of it all.
Oh, that's a good speech. We'll definitely leave it there. Thanks everyone for listening. Please like and subscribe, notifications on, and we'll see you next time.
Imagine. Imagine a virus you know nothing about. The impact frustrates you. You can't go out. Imagine a lockdown you don't understand, where friends stop visiting and family is banned. Imagine the confusion caused by a bug. No smiles, no laughs, not even a hug. Imagine the isolation taking control, the hurt and anger destroying your soul. Slowly forgetting small things you once knew, like boiling a kettle and making a brew. Your memory disappearing in the blink of an eye. Stood in your hallway and not knowing why. Imagine your mum, your nana, your dad, unable to help them. It's driving you mad. The strain on the carers, their health damaged too. Imagine that person was you. Living with dementia during COVID-19 is even harder than you can imagine. At Alzheimer's Society, we hear from families every day and know they need help. Please support them by donating today